This is VOCM Open Line. Call 709-273-5211 or 1-888-590-8626. The views and opinions of this program are not necessarily those of this station. The biggest conversation in Newfoundland and Labrador starts now. Here's VOCM Open Line host Paddy Daly.
Well, good morning and welcome to Open Line. I am Brian Callahan. In for Paddy today on a midsummer Monday, if there ever, if there ever was one, smack dab in the middle of July. It is beautiful out there this morning in the metro area anyway, and by the looks of it, most of the province. We're going to keep it going for the rest of the week by the looks of it. Sunny and warm, dare I say hot for the rest of the week. Forecast 30 degrees in St. John's today. So, and is there a cruise ship in town? I hope so, because I love it when they're here on beautiful days, and I kind of go, ugh. It's too bad they missed one when it's not so nice. And this is Orangeman's Day, holiday in these parts for some, that is. One of those strange ones. If you have things to do, errands to run, you might just want to check, call ahead. Just say if you're open, because as much as provincial and municipal offices are closed, things get tangly when city offices are closed, but there's garbage collection and paid parking, for example. So, for the record, curbside waste collection will go ahead today as scheduled, so garbage pickup. Dump is open. City parking bylaws are in effect. Paid parking regulations, just so it's not a shops closing act, so all the parking rules are still in place. Visitor Information Centre, Water Street, St. John's is open. Street cleaning operations, beware. They're a go as scheduled. I know we had street cleaning on our downtown street week or so ago, and next morning I look up and there's 4 or 5 on the other side of the road with the tickets in the window. So sign up for the email if nothing else, or check with the city. But if you get the automatic emails, they can save you some cash when it goes to renew your registration for your vehicle and you got any outstanding tickets. All recreation facilities open, by the way, too. Day camp programs going ahead. Bannerman, Bowring Park pools are open, splash pads. Public washrooms in those parks, said parks, and down in Kitty Lake and Kenny's Pond, washrooms should all be open. Nothing worse than running up to the door and it's locked. And since Orangeman's Day is all about a Protestant king defeating a Catholic king, we'll move on. And I've said this before and will again, the best reality TV out there, boys, is sports. And you need look no further than Wimbledon yesterday. There's not a lot of, without NBA and hockey, people sort of tune out. But boys, the best stuff is still out there. And Wimbledon, the cream of the crop of tennis doesn't get any better. Not so much on the women's, which was over before it started on Saturday. Nerves must have got the best of Anna Samova. And she was rocked by Swiatek, who just couldn't miss. But this won't be the last final between Jannik Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz yesterday in Wimbledon. It's too bad it didn't go 5 sets. Both young. Now that the older guard is moving on, guys like Djokovic and everyone, just 38-year-old caught up to Djokovic, I think. Father Time did at Wimbledon this year. And so the final yesterday was good. There was a between-the-legs shot by Sinner, just an absolute reflex reaction. At a crucial point in the match, it's amazing. That level of tennis and I don't think it was cocky or anything. It was just purely reflex and showing off rather than showing off. And as for Canadians, we'll move on. The Jays are still in first, but not the best way to go into the All-Star break, which starts today. Home Run Derby tonight in Major League Baseball. They lost a couple to the soon-to-be the Las Vegas Athletics, who now play out of Sacramento, who are playing out of a smaller field in Sacramento, where they have to kind of, you wonder what's the difference, why can't they play one? Well, in the major leagues, there are certain facilities and different aspects of a field that you have to play a major league game that the major leaguers are used to. One of those is the foul pole. And yesterday, you couldn't have written a better script. The only script that would have been better is if the Jays had won the game, but I think it was Davis Schneider hits one down the line and they couldn't tell. It's hard. There was no good replay to see whether or not it actually was a home run. Manager comes out, argues it, gets tossed, and as he's going away, he's gesturing to the third base umpire that he should have just called it foul, but he didn't. And what happens? Davis Schneider, I said to the TV, I said, wouldn't it be great if Davis Schneider could come up here now and just park one, just in your face ump? And so he did. but unfortunately they dropped the game. So they're still in first place, and they just got to right the ship a little bit. Lots of work ahead when we come out of the All-Star break. But they're in first, and that's going to be a fun run to watch, especially the way the Yankees are just kind of biding their time, waiting for the games that really matter, just staying near the top, waiting for their opportunity. I mentioned the home derby tonight, and there's lots of sports. We can talk any sports if you like. I am all ears, all open. The only one I don't get to follow as much as I'd like to is cricket, but not a lot of TV eyes on that, and I know there's local leagues around the city and stuff, but as far as professional crowd, not enough on TV, but I'll take whatever I can get. And moving away from sports, though, but listening to the morning show here, your VOCM Mornings with Russell Bowers this morning, talking to Mark Critch. Of course, the Gordon Pinson statue was unveiled on the weekend, and it looks like they had the beautiful weather for it. And, you just see him there sitting on a bench, legs crossed, waiting for a gab in Grand Falls, Windsor. That was Gordon. And I'm fortunate to say I was in a movie with Mr. Pinson a few years back. He had a movie. It was kind of based on his childhood, growing up in central Newfoundland, and particularly around Gander when the heyday of the airport and all the stars were coming through. And he put together a made-for-TV movie called Heyday, and they actually filmed it. They built a sound stage, and they built the set in the Village Mall, the former upstairs Woolworths. Woolco or Woolworths? I always mess that up. Pretty sure it was Woolco. And they built it all there, and they filmed the show there and around town. But mostly they did all the filming up there, and it was great, and it was out, and it's called Heyday, and you can have a look. But he certainly cut the path for everyone else, as Mark has said. He made that metaphor about cutting it through the woods of Central and leading the path for all the other greats that we've had, like Mark and like Mary Walsh and like Bob Joy and all the great actors that we've had come out of our province in the last few years and decades. And I had a little pop down to the Folk Festival on the weekend here in St. John's. Very melancholy, kind of, two minds for a lot of people down there. Although, it kind of speaks to the problem that they're having. I was down on a relatively lovely evening, Saturday night, for Serena Ryder. And it wasn't that full. It really wasn't. There, and they kind of laughed at the beer tent. People would go in, but it was so thin that they were cheering them on as they came through the maze to get to the beer tent. But it didn't seem to have the numbers that they're going to need, and that's what they were saying. You could hear Julia Voigt just begging people just come out, buy a ticket. That's the only way they're going to save it, and we'll see if she gets to 50 next year. If Serena Ryder has anything to say about it, they will. She certainly made no secret of her love of the city, the festival, the province. And she said, quote, "I will do whatever I can." So there you go. And on another musical note, 40th anniversary of Live Aid yesterday. And CNN's been running a great documentary. They ran part one of it last night about how Live Aid and how Band Aid and everything came together. And these interviews that I've never seen with Bob Geldof and the others, and all the phone calls they were making, just to with these great stars to do this over such a short period of time, to deal and to respond to the absolute catastrophe that was the starvation and the famine in Ethiopia in the early 80s, and how it all came together, and it just sort of developed into some incredible dedication of time and music and raising money for those causes. And it's not like starvation has gone away and famine has gone away. It's just, unfortunately, sometimes out of sight, out of mind. So we could talk about any of that, of course, and we can get into the bigger issues of the day. Lots of calls coming up, Dave. I see that we've got some. I'm not even going to ask you how we're looking on the phones, Dave, because I can see on my screen. So we got lots. I'm not going to gab along too much here, but a few things, other things I did want to touch on, of course. We're hearing in the news that Premier John Hogan has penned a letter to the Prime Minister reminding him of his, I guess we could say, of his commitment to reduce the rates on the Marine Atlantic Ferry. Now, of course, we can get into the provincial ferries too, and I'm sure we will. Update on Fogo and Bell Island and the tussle going on there. But as far as the ferries go, I mean, we all remember during the campaign trail, it came up in PEI, and they don't make promises anymore, politicians. That phased out some time ago. That's too hard and solid. You have to make a pledge or a commitment. It gives you a little bit more leeway and wiggle room. And I don't mean to be sarcastic. It's true. You give a promise, and it's always a promise. And you can't go back on your promise. And you broke a promise. Those are the words that'll come out. So very wary of that these days, our politicians. They change their vernacular when it comes to that. And I was looking around trying to find out if PEI, which was originally the springboard for the questions that were asked here, because once they offered PEI a break on fears and talk of even no fears in some cases, it drastically reduced. The question was asked, well, what about Marine Atlantic? And a pledge was made, but there's still no word on that front. And the last I heard from the federal government, PEI was trying to get a timeline on when, because as far as I know, as of late May and early June, nothing had been done with their fares either. So, let's not hope this is the epitome of just, electioneering and, we'll get around to it. But to be perfectly honest, it's July. It's middle of July. Half the summer is gone. And even if they did it next week, which, how these things take, how long these things take, the bureaucratic I's dotted and T's crossed, and to be able to make that happen and all the administrative that would have to go into it, even if it happened now, I'm not sure we'd be able to really recover or make avail of it or make it an attractive option for people, a more attractive option, in the interest of reducing all interprovincial trade barriers. So still no word, I don't think, on the PEI side of things, and certainly not here with the letter that Premier Hogan has sent. Letters, I don't know. I always thought on one hand they'll say it's more important to get together, but I'm not sure how much weight a letter carries other than saying they did it and it's on the record, and now what? So we wait with bated breath on that front, and of course we can talk the Prime Minister on other issues, whether it's the tariffs, the new 35% that could be coming down the pipe as of August the 1st, and the back and forth going on there. Wherever you want to go with tariffs. And I see Pierre Poilievre gave an interview to the CBC. Shocking. Well, not shocking, but surprising, considering the clam up during the election, and he wasn't going to. And I mean, of all, give an interview to the CBC after, pretty much saying that he was going to can it and cut the funding. So it was interesting, change of strategy there from Mr. Poilievre, and talking about his loss in his own riding. And the reasons for that, well, said, he came right out and said he was going to cut government bloat. And now he's saying here the Liberals are going to do it anyway. So he was being honest and the Liberals weren't, so he says. And anything else, lots of details coming out about the Trump assassination attempt. The Mideast is blowing up again, and it will never not. It's interesting, Israeli incursions into, say, the West Bank area now, and you have settlers sort of feeling a little bit emboldened by the gains that Israel made with Iran and against Hezbollah and Hamas. And now you're seeing settlers attacking Palestinians in the West Bank in these areas and these random attacks. And that just doesn't go away. So I just throw out as many as you want. We have a lot more just as important or more important stories close to home. Not even going to talk about Epstein and the Epstein files, but I will say this about it. I'm not going to talk about it, but I will say this about it. Searches online have eclipsed even tariffs and immigration and the cost of living in the United States. The biggest searches now, Google searches, are for the Epstein files. And the lingering questions about who is on those Epstein files and what names and how far up the chain it goes, including, a lot of speculation as to whether President Trump himself is on the list. So on and on and on and on it goes. Dave, I'm coming up to, I think, a time that you'd love to have a break. So let's take that break. Got, let me see, lots of calls. I'm not even going to try to do it. Let's just take the break, and we'll come back randomly and surprise, surprise with the next caller. Welcome back to the show. I'm Brian Callahan in for Patty on this mid-July Monday. Let's go right to the top of the board. Liz, you are on the air.
Hello.
Good morning.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm okay for the middle of summer. Beautiful day. I'm sure there's lots of tourists around. But are they all getting to Fogo Island, or are they not? Is anyone getting back?
As far as I'm aware right now, everything's back to normal as of, I think, Saturday afternoon, possibly. But the reason I called in on Friday, but that was when it was in the height of everything. Anyway, basically, I'm trying to cut the story short. I was waiting to get back onto the island along with so many others. And I went down to Farewell I got there around 9:30ish Friday morning. and went down to the terminal. And the first thing, there was a power outage that nobody'd known about, so there was no washroom facilities. And anyway, I went back and got in the lineup, and then waited for the veteran, which was supposed to come in and be there to leave again at 11 o'clock. Anyway, she finally came in, and then we were told that she wasn't going anywhere because there was some kind of a mechanical issue. And they had to bring a technician out from St. John's, and it could be anything up to 4 hours. Well, of course, the washroom facilities they eventually locked the terminal. You couldn't even get in because there was no point in going in there. So it was very, very uncomfortable, and it really wasn't fair on any of the traveling public, especially the older people. Like, I was talking to one lady who was like, she was almost crying. She didn't know what to do because she needed to use the washroom. And a few years ago, they had a few like porta potties put there for this kind of situation, because this has been going on for years. This is not a new thing. This is something that could have been fixed years ago, but for some reason the government, in its wisdom, can't seem to get their act together to sort out this ferry system for the height of the summer season. Anyway, again, knowing that I was going to be there for at least 4 hours, I said, well, I've got to go and use some facilities. So I drove back to Stoneville, which is about a 10-15 drive, and got to the shop, and that was fine. And one of the worst things about being in anywhere coming from Gander, but particularly there in Fairwell, is there's very, very poor cell service. If you're lucky to get a bar, you're lucky. You might get two, but you're wandering around like a zombie trying to find the right space to get something. And that, this day and age, is like unforgivable. So I then went on and said, well, I'm here now. It's just as well drive around till I can get some service. So I ended up going a half-hour journey from the ferry to a restaurant. And I sat in the parking lot of the restaurant, and I got 3 bars on my phone. So I made the calls I had to make, and then that was when I called Open Line, but they didn't get back to me. I guess they were busy or it was too late or whatever. So I called our mayor, Andrew Shea, who knew nothing about what was going on in Fairwell. He told me he knew nothing about what was going on with anything because the government hadn't had the decency to get in touch with him or the council or anyone on the island and tell them what was going on. Kudos, big ones, to the guys and the gals that were on the Astron, keeping the Astron where it was supposed to be, because if they hadn't done that, we wouldn't have had a ferry at all at that point. But they were stoic. They stayed where they were, and they would not let that Astron leave Fogo Island, because you cannot trust the government not to take it further. They could say, well, we're going to Fairwell, and they could end up wherever. They were heading for Bell Island. That notice came through at 4:47 on, I think it was Wednesday night, that the Astron was going at 3 o'clock the next morning. And from then till, well, I guess Saturday morning, the protesters, God love them, stayed there, and they held that boat on Fogo Island, or we never would have had a boat at all. Anyway, going forward, I decided I'd go back to Fairwell rather than leave somewhere and go back to my friend's house, which was another hour and 3/4 journey. I had no money for a hotel in Gander, neither did most other people. So anyway, I went back to the lineup, and the amount of vehicles that had left since I had left was the disappointed travellers who couldn't get where they wanted to be. Campers, people in like regular travellers, holiday makers, people who'd had bookings for Airbnbs on Fogo Island and couldn't take the chance of coming to the island for fear they might not get off again. It was unreal, the amount of spaces. I went back to the lineup, and I was about 10 spaces further ahead than I was when I left because of people leaving. And that's where we all sat and we stayed, and thankfully the power came on and the washrooms were able to be used again. And thank God for the fella there with the chip truck. He must have made a decent living that day. But the ferry was still there. So we're waiting patiently, and we saw a mechanic van come from St. John's, I presume, he was on the boat about, I don't know, maybe half an hour, and then he left. So we said, oh, great, we're going now. Anyway, 10 minutes later, back he comes. And it transpires that he fixed the original problem, but before he was anywhere far away from Farewell, something else had gone wrong. So they called him back. So meanwhile, there's the ferry there for hours. And I must say that one of our Fogo Island ambulances was on that wharf all afternoon, unable to get back to the island. Thank God the island already had another one on it. No one was allowed on the boat, and then we got word, oh, she's leaving, we're going back to Fogo Island, but she's not taking anybody, with no real explanation why. So that wasn't a nice thing to hear. So anyway, we're there now. What does everybody do? So the ferry left. It wasn't allowed by Transport Canada, they said, to take any passengers because of a liability issue, not even the ambulance. So off she went back to Fogo Island. So what were people doing? A lot of people got quite angry, understandably so. Anyway, long story short, a lot of people stayed in the vehicles. I stayed in my vehicle because I figured, well, as soon as the boat goes, I want to be there and be on it. And so a lot of us just stayed the night in our vehicles. And the terminal was open, and people were going back and using the washroom, and then there was no water because the water was used up.
Oh, what a mess.
So,
it is.
Oh, my dear.
Well,
It went on and on until, can I just say that they eventually the government decided at the last minute, as soon as Bell Island got their ferries back and fixed, the Astron was allowed to go, and the protesters were good enough to let it go, and the Astron came and started picking up the slack until a part came from wherever it came from for the veteran, and the veteran went back on schedule in the afternoon.
Liz, you mentioned right off the top, and you said it right, just talking about the bathrooms, that this is not new, going on for years. And every part of what you just detailed has been going on for years. And it's not like you can't prepare for it. And, whether it's the bathrooms, whether it's the phone reception, whether it's just the basic communication, let people know what's happening in real time, instead of, the mayor doesn't know, you say, and some things going on.
He told me he didn't know.
He can't know in real time. Absolutely. And he probably can't know in real time what's happening in real time unless somebody's there to tell him. I mean, it's like us in the news business. We don't know if something's going on the other end of town unless somebody tells us.
Absolutely, yeah.
But as we said, this could be prepared for. And when you talk about the effort we make for tourism and just the residents to get back and forth, bringing a mechanical guy from St. John's, 4
hours. Why couldn't they send him out in a helicopter?
Well, I mean, not only that, there probably should be a person there all the time. I mean, we know these ferries are prone to problems. That's why we have the problem that we have this year, shifting them around, people hijacking ferries. Have we not evolved past this? And
you would think so, wouldn't you?
Well,
you wouldn't think any of it should be possible.
And shifting them back and forth and holding them against one, and unfortunately, it becomes inevitably pitting one community against another. Although obviously, residents we're big enough to understand that it's not about the residents; it's about what government's doing with our transportation system, and how
they should be ashamed of themselves. They should be. Totally
I'm not a big fan of that. They should be ashamed of themselves. We can all look inward at that sort of thing. I don't like. It's not a term that I'm really fond of, but it became a big thing after COVID. Oh, you should be ashamed. Excuse me. I mean, who are you to tell me? All I would say is, as far as government goes, there was preparation that could have been made there. I mean, to be 11th hour dealing with very mechanical problems. We know they're going to have mechanical issues, but to have to get someone up there for hours and not have that issue, and then just the uncertainty, and the lack of communication. One thing that has come out of it for me has been apparently a real lack of communication. Whether it's between various agencies of government, or whether it's just between the municipality and government, or whether it's between the municipality and travelers and the province, and what's happening. And did you ever find out what the cause of the power outage was?
No, I didn't actually, because I wasn't there when the power came back on, and it wasn't top priority then.
Yeah, and
the
basics.
It was working, and that was that.
And the basics of all basics, bathrooms.
Yeah. Exactly.
What are you going to do? And it just becomes such an awkward and uncomfortable thing for people. It's not just I got to go. It's like I want to go.
Who was going to take the chance? There was a car in front of me from PEI. I was talking to people from, I forget where it was exactly, but somewhere down the States. I was talking to people from all over different parts of Canada, all coming, and they didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And we met a lovely couple from Amherst, I think it was. And they come and they'd got 2 nights booked in an Airbnb on Fogo Island. They really wanted to come. And so they stayed the night in their vehicle, like the rest of us, to get to Fogo on Saturday morning. And when Saturday morning came, they decided they couldn't do it, because if they couldn't get back on the ferry the next day, it was going to put all their plans for the rest of their holiday in Newfoundland or wherever they were going, like, as a kilter.
Yeah, and as you can, and everyone can just appreciate what that does to the businesses on Fogo. Anyone, any B&Bs, any restaurants, anyone with reservations, anyone expecting guests, it must be tearing their hair out, because they just know that the unpredictability and the unreliability is real. Liz, only because I got to get to the break. I really appreciate the phone call.
Okay, thanks for calling me back.
Yes, thanks for all the detail, and thanks for taking me through it. We got to keep it on the front burner. It's not going away. It's not new.
No.
And if we don't, push it this year, who knows? We'll be back square one next year. So thanks again for the call.
Absolutely. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, and Dave, just quick before we go to the break, we got a couple looking for their lost dachshund. I hope I said that right. It's been a while. My German from first year German at university. I don't know if it sticks. Lost their dachshund. He lost along the Southern Shore Highway just past Witless Bay, just over a year old. Mostly black with a little brown. Anyone who has a look, just have a look if you're up the Irish Loop or down around Witless Bay area or anywhere on that stretch. Let's see if you spot this lost dachshund, you can call Dan or Debbie or give us a shout here, actually, at VOCM. Open line, 709-273-5211. Are our normal phone line numbers working today, Dave? They are indeed. Good enough. If you're up anywhere along the Irish Loop, out around Witless Bay area, it's a lost dachshund. He's only a year old or so, mostly black with a little bit of brown. If you see a dog wandering around, lost dog, a good dog is lost by the sounds of it. Thank you for that one, Ron Hines. Okay, let's take that break. We'll be right back. I'm Brian Callahan in for Paddy Daly on Open Line today. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the show. Brian Callahan in for Paddy today. Let's go right to line number 2. And Lori, you're on the air.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning, Lori. How are you?
Good. I'm really enjoying my time in Newfoundland. I'm a 55-year-old grandmother from Fredericton, New Brunswick. My website is called justwalkawaycanada.com. I've been walking across Canada since April 2nd of 2024. I started in Vancouver, British Columbia. Unfortunately, as I crossed, I did have a couple of injuries which slowed me down. And in December, I received a phone call when I was in Montmagny, Quebec, saying there had been a change in my mom's health. And so I returned home to help care for her. I got to spend one last week with her before her passing. But I took the remainder of December off. But at that time, I knew because of the delays and the time off that I had to kind of replan. And so I'm now doing Newfoundland as its own separate leg. I started on July the 4th. I'm walking for Canadian Mental Health Association and Women's Shelters Canada in an effort to end domestic violence. A couple of things made me want to do this. Two big life events. Firstly was the loss of my sister in 2008. Her case was declared a homicide. She died of mercury poisoning, but we never received justice in her case. So I'd always wanted to do something to honor her life and not just have her be a statistic. The second thing that happened was in December of 2020, while I was applying to go back to university. I was a COVID grad, and I was applying to go into a social work program when my daughter and I were involved in a motor vehicle accident. our seat sheared off, and I ejected into the back seat, which caused herniation of my spine in 3 areas and an injury to the left side of my head, which caused really severe memory loss, some problems with my vision, things that made it really difficult for me to read or go back to school. So I knew that was like an impossibility. And although I could barely walk a city block,
and yet you're walking across the country.
Well, I felt like I had to have something to work towards.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom would have told you it was a bump to the head that made me come up with the idea, and she wasn't wrong.
Sometimes we all need a knock upside the head, Lori, to set us on the right path.
Yeah, I think so.
Not to make lice, but
it's certainly been a difficult journey at times, but a very rewarding one, and just something that I felt needed to be done. I grew up in a time that, I watched Terry Fox walk across the country. So when I started telling people I wanted to do this, I'm not an athlete. I'm 55 years old. I have arthritis in my feet and whatnot, so it's not an easy journey. But no journey worth taking ever is. And there's so many people out there still living with circumstances that they shouldn't have to live with. I believe everyone deserves peace in their own home. And so that's what keeps me going, is stories of people who've managed to leave their abusers and use their strength to find safety. But then there's so many more that are still suffering. And I think that by sharing my sister's story, that it has value, and that hopefully it can help others too.
Lori, where are you now?
Actually, I'm sitting at a campground right now because I wanted to be able to talk to you this morning. So
Yeah, I just wondering where exactly, just so people can put it in their mind's eye, where exactly you are at this moment.
I'm in Deer Lake. I'm about 1 kilometer from the Deer Lake sign, walking through to St. John's. I started in Port Basque on July the 4th, and I'm hoping to make St. John's before the 11th of August.
And is there anyone with you? Who's with you? Are you on your own? Or?
No, my husband's been traveling with me.
Nice.
Initially, my son and his partner and my grandson traveled with me through most of BC, and then my husband came to my rescue as my support person. That was also the reason why I had to take a short hiatus this spring, was because he was needed back at work. And I had told everyone I should be done no later than March. That was kind of the plan, so my daughter, keeping me to my schedule, planned her second baby, and
good for her.
So I was needed out west for the month of April or May, I should say, May and part of June, because she had her second child, our third grandbaby, another grandson. And so I took a month to be out there to help her with her 2 little ones. And then I came back home to New Brunswick, had about 3 weeks to pack and prepare for Newfoundland. And happily, we've never been to Newfoundland, either my husband or I. So
my next question.
He pulls our caravan, or pulls our camper trailer for me, and he gets me on and off of the road. Usually he takes me out in the morning and I walk for a while. He picks me up for a midday break, and then I go back out again in the evening. I like to walk in the evenings because it's pretty hot these days, but it's been just amazing. It's so beautiful here, so amazingly beautiful. It's
just fantastic that you have that support, that he's, for everything you've been through. I mean, I can't imagine what we were all going through in the pandemic, and to go through that, car accident that you went through in December of 2020, on top of everything else that people are facing. And, Lori, it never ceases to amaze me how many people will summon the name of Terry Fox when they talk about these, personal journeys that they have to go on, or want to go on, or feel they need to go on, and find that important a mission that you've found that you need to do and to carry out this walk across the country and through everything. And I mean, I'm around the same vintage as you are. So, and I know the way my legs and calves feel in the morning sometimes. I can't imagine thinking, that's okay, I got 300-400 kilometers to walk today. So, good on you. I mean, look, if the causes that you're walking for, are so important, and whether it's domestic violence, whether it's any of those horrible things that people have to go through, and not the least of which, of course, is the memory of your sister, Patricia. You mentioned right off the top, and I've got a few minutes here before we got to go to a break, but can you just remind me, you say she was murdered, you're telling, but what was the cause of death?
Yes. Acute mercury poisoning.
That's not an easy one to prove for someone who covers a lot of criminal law. That must have been a tough one.
Well, fortunately, in our case, we've heard rumors that, although nothing has been confirmed, that the evidence was mishandled. And so, although there was an arrest made, no one was ever convicted of her murder. Right. Just the amounts of mercury present in her body was enough to prove to the investigators at the time that this was definitely a homicide case. That this could never have happened accidentally in that degree. And so, yeah, it was. But since the pandemic, our numbers have been on the rise. And I was a sociology student, so it's something I've always been passionate about. And just knowing that those numbers still are trending upwards is concerning. And a lot of these deaths are so needless that I truly believe that by supporting the Canadian mental health and by supporting our shelter system, that we can make a difference as Canadians. And I've been asking Canadians just to donate $1 to each of the two causes. They can go directly to my website has links to both charities. Sure. I have collected money along the way from people who don't like to use technology and wish to make a donation, and we usually donate that in lump sums as we move along. But I do encourage people to use the website. It tells a bit more of our story there. I try to put out a video on social media every day to let people know where I am and what I'm up to. I'm 55 years old, so I'm not great with social media. I didn't start using it really until I started the walk. Well,
there's a great website there. Once again, Just Walk Away Canada. And it's interesting that your beautiful landing page shows a pretty stormy, wintry, yucky day there in the background, which is nothing like I think you're experiencing out in Deer Lake today.
It's certainly not.
So, Lori, so people will see you. You're in Deer Lake today. You're going to start heading east towards St. John's?
I am, yes.
And first thing today, so they'll see you on the side of the road. Do you have a sign on the vehicle? Will people know right away? I guess not a lot of people walking, but...
I'm usually by myself. The vehicle isn't usually with me. But I'm wearing a purple hat and a purple sign because purple is the color for ending domestic violence. So I wear a sign front and back that says justwalkawaycanada.com, in the hopes that people will see me and wonder what I'm doing out there and look me up, and just my way of trying to call attention to my purpose.
Yeah, there are great organizations in this province doing that hard work too. So I expect you will certainly expect a lot of support on your final leg, really, from the West Coast to the East Coast. You're going to love it. For someone who's never been to Newfoundland before, and you've never been to St. John's, have you?
No, not at all. It's been on my bucket list forever to come over. I was a rock climber for years, so the scenery here is just so amazingly beautiful. I love the ocean. I love the mountains. So what's not to love about Newfoundland? And people here so far have been very receptive and very friendly. So that's been great too. You're
getting those mountains on the West Coast. You're going to get all the great craggly shoreline and Cape Spear here on the East Coast. So we'll look forward to seeing you when you get here. Give us a call. Keep us updated. And again, anyone looking, Just Walk Away Canada is the website. And Lori Haggerty, safe walking along the highway.
Thank you so much, Brian.
Thank you. Good luck. Thanks. Okay, Dave, let's take that break. And we'll be right back with Brian talking about Newfoundland power rates after the break. And welcome back to Open Line on this mid-July Monday. Let's go right to line number 3. And Brian, you're on the air.
Good morning.
Morning.
Yeah, I just called about the increase that we heard about of the power rates for Newfoundland Power. I think it was last week or the week before. And,
Dave, do we have is there a problem on that line? It's kind of cutting in and out, or is that just, is that our lines or just phone line? We'll keep going, Brian. Just, it's kind of getting a little bit of a breakup in between interruption there on the line, but just keep going and see if it goes away. Sorry about that.
Okay. Anyway, I heard that some of the reason for the increase in the power rates had to do with Muskrat Falls and the cost overruns there. Correct me now if I'm wrong.
No, these are year-to-year adjustments. They have to do with the budgeting of year-to-year. I mean, look, everything somehow flows back when you think of, the provincial government responsibility and how we have to continue to somehow mitigate, rate mitigation for Muskrat Falls. But, these are year-to-year budgets and even quarterly that the utilities put before the Public Utilities Board, and a lot of things. Look, these are the most complicated. If you're not in the business of rate regulation, I've sat through a couple of them. Paint drying is way more exciting. I've sat over at the Prince Charles Building. Like whenever I see an assignment, Prince Charles Building, it's pub. And it's not exciting and it's not riveting, but it's pretty important and it affects all of us. The July 1st rate went up by 7%. Now, they had asked for about 11% before that in January, but that was initially rejected, and the pubs took it back to the drawing board, and they said, find better ways to be more efficient. But I mean, between Newfoundland Power and Newfoundland Hydro and our grid and the various types of, prongs that are in that mix right now to set rates and the investments that they have to continue to make, obviously, continually upgrading and investing. So, some of it is always going to trickle back. The billions that overran on Muskrat Falls, we're still paying for it. And we're holding the line on it with a mitigation rate. But other than that, you could find a way to say, or find a way that a percentage of Muskrat Falls is still taking a chunk and is a big, what do you want to call it? The something around the neck. Can't think of my words here today, Dave. The albatross, if you like, still around our neck that we will never come out from. And you just need look no further than a debate in the House of Assembly and how often it's still raised as being the problem and the hindrance towards us being able to somehow, balance our budget, if you will, for lack of a better explanation.
I mean, you look, like, I'm a pensioner. Now, I got a little bit of extra pension. I work, and... you're going to
need a lot of extra pension.
Yeah, you think. But anyway, I think that, like, looking to pensioners on the fixed income and all this to try to pay down the cost overruns and whatever is absolutely crazy.
Well, I mean, the rates have to somehow fix the rates with the province's attempts to try to put caps, whether it's on the residential domestic rate, trying to cap it at 2, I think it's 2.25, 2.5. As part of the rate mitigation efforts that I mentioned. And that's supposed to stay in place until 2030. So, I mean, we're doing what we can. I think the government is trying to find a way to do what they can to, because that's what hits us most. And with an election coming, every little thing counts right now. Every little negative thing counts. Every little positive thing counts. And, you can read between the lines of any news release or anything else. It's they just don't want anything to blow up right now ahead of an election, and anything that does can affect the outcome. So we're in an interesting period. It's quiet and careful, and we all know the big issues out there, whether it's healthcare or whether it's the cost of living and the cost of heating a house. Fortunately, right now, heating a house isn't our biggest concern. It might be air conditioning might be the bigger, although it's not something that we normally have to rely on as much. But get used to it because the climate's changing. And within 10, 20 years, or even less, our climate is going to be probably just perfect.
Yeah, really. I just wanted to put it out there. I just felt the need to, voice my opinion.
Yeah, no, and as far as Muscat goes, rate mitigation is going to be a part of all rate setting for the next, for the foreseeable future. As you said, there are certain efforts, at least until 2030, just to try to ease ourselves out of that debt we got ourselves into, and as they continue to develop the other part of Labrador. So, anything else to say before we go off to the news, Brian? I appreciate the call, but it's a tangly.
I just wanted to thank you for the opportunity to put my opinion out there.
You're welcome. It's a tangly. It's not, easily explained in an open line phone call, and it's not even easily explained when you sit before the pub and listen to the arguments back and forth for rate increases. It's just it is complicated, but I can tell you in the immediate future, we just had a 7% increase from Newfoundland Power as of July 1st, which could have been worse, and it's steady as she goes until really, at this time of year, our heat bill is probably not the first thing on the top of our minds, and the government's just fine with that.
Yeah.
Great.
Got to stay the course.
Absolutely. Thanks, Brian, for your call.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.
Bye.
Enjoy the day. Enjoy the weather. Just a reminder, too, Dave, I'm not sure, but I should have put our number out there again for the Good Dog is Lost. Just one more time. Lost Dachshund up the Witless Bay line area. Out toward Mobile, I guess, and the Irish Loop. Anyone, just keep an eye out. It's a year-old dachshund lost along that area in the Witless Bay area, mostly black with a little bit of brown. And Dan and Debbie would love to have their dog back. I can give out the number here. It's 685-3436, 709, of course. 685-3436. We have that number here at Open Line. If you didn't get a chance to jot it down, and if you catch any sight of lost dachshund, little 1-year-old, mostly black with a little bit of brown, out the way in Witless Bay area, give us a shout here at Open Line, 709-273-5211, 1-888 BOCM 8626, and we're off to the news. Welcome back to Open Line. Brian Callahan in for Paddy on this Monday, July the 14th, Orangeman's Day around these parts. Let's go right to line one. Caller, you're on the air. Morning, caller on line one.
Hello?
Yes. Go ahead. Yeah, you're on the air.
Yeah, how are you this morning?
Good.
Okay, so I'm in a really bad situation. Like this, nothing can go wrong than this. So I was temporary foreign worker. I was working in Newfoundland from last 1 year, and I wanted to immigrate to Newfoundland by Atlantic Immigration Program, like AIP. It was a really good program, and I was really interested. And so I was like, okay, fine, go to Newfoundland. I'm gonna apply. I was eligible, mind you, and then my employer last year, they said, I was working at the Mary Brown's Blackmarsh Road. They said, even though you're eligible, we can't help you because, this is a big chunk of your file which goes into your application from your employer side, right? So they said, we can help you from, until you work for us for, certain months, until, a certain period. Obviously, they want to take advantage of my situation, right? They want to keep me for their company for a longer period of time, right? So they want to maybe see how reliable I am. So they said that to me. So I said, okay, I didn't have any other option. I started working for them. After a year, so after almost 1 year, so the government of Newfoundland changed the rules. Now they completely changed the rules, and under new rules, I was almost eligible. So they wanted a 1 year of work experience in Newfoundland, but I had 11 months of experience, more than 11, but less than 12. So it was only a matter of a few days. So I was I was trying to contact the department, the immigration department. I was like, hey, you know what? I know, these rules didn't even exist before. These rules are new rules. Under the new rules, I'm a little bit short of a time. If you can give me a helping hand, we can work in together and just find a solution, And no help. Zero response from this government. I have wrote a letter to immigration minister. I have sent several emails to deputy minister. Anybody, any person in that department, I will reach out our deputy premier, our ex-immigration minister. I have reached to at least like 20 people at this time, and no response. Not even a single response. I lost my job last month, June. I have nowhere to go. I lost my job. I'm afraid I'm going to lose my house because I have literally no job. Like, I'm going to end up on streets next month. I'm just trying to make it work because I'm 25 years old and I can't go back to my parents' house. Like, that's not going to happen. Like, this is like, and it was a clearly like electoral propaganda because of course the Liberals are going to, we're in a housing crisis. They just want to win the election because last year there was an election. People were complaining about immigrants. I get that part. Of course, it's their country. They're right. They have their own problems to deal with. How can they're going to deal with us? I completely agree with the Canadians, whatever they have to say. It's their country. But who let us, I'm so sorry, Brian, but who let us in this country in the first place, right? Who gave us visas in first place? Who gave us work permits? Who gave us study permits? This their own government. And now they're doing this to us.
Yeah, and as we know now, the target moves, right? It constantly moves. And when you go too big, too fast, and the feds have realized that to some point, because, the population started out pacing where people could live, where we could put people. And that put strains on every sector across the country, from every province. And every province had to deal with reductions in temporary foreign worker program numbers that they could include and that they could have. All those numbers changed. Then we were told, Newfoundland was told that it would be okay, but actually then we were affected. Then we had to adjust and go back to the feds and say we need more. You can't just cut it off at that. The consideration is there for people like you in your position, but you and I both know, and you do have an appreciation for what the Canadian the government is up to and what they're trying to do. I mean, the numbers were great, but most people agree that there was too many too fast. And we had to slow that process. And now the ways they're doing it, including, as you said, you're caught up now in employer caps, maximums on the total workforce that can be hired through a low-wage stream. And I get what you're saying. You don't want to go back to your parents' house. Nobody does. At 25, you would think you have still some pretty great options. Do you have a post-secondary?
Yes, I do, but so what kind of job? That's the other thing. So I paid almost $60K. That was my tuition because as an international student you pay way more, and it took me years to get out of that student loan because of course. Who has that kind of money? And I took the student loans, and it took me years and finally I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be on my feet now. Everything was working fine. Mind you, I was eligible since last year. I was eligible. I met all the requirements. So my employer, clearly they want to take advantage of my situation. They want to keep me for a longer period of time, right?
Navjot, when you said, sorry to interrupt, but you mentioned that earlier. What do you mean by take advantage? Do you mean take advantage of you or take advantage I just want to make sure I'm clear about what, because when people use those words, it sort of suggests that someone's doing something,
No. So basically, let's say if they say, yes, so you need a job offer and you need a bunch of other documents like license, and so that this application goes from employer's computer, and of course I don't have the access to that computer, right? So I was following the news, I went to my manager's office 10 times. I was like, hey, I'm following the news. I think they're going to change the rules. Can you please file my file before the rule changes so that way I'm safe, there's no problems in future. She said no. She said no, you have to work for us, for our company for this amount of period before they can help you. So that was why can't you just help me from first month or second month? I had to work there for at least 9 or 10 months before they can offer their help. And there's a big spot from your employer you have to have in your application. You can't just file the application without that. So if they could have given me that spot 10 months back, I would have been not in this situation. Right?
Yeah, you and many others. I mean, it's the toughest situation to be in when they change the rules after the fact, as opposed to what you initially were accepted under. I mean, that's as tough as it gets. What kind of help are you getting, either provincially, from your MHA, from an MP?
None.
What kind of? I mean, clearly you've reached out. Has there been any tangible response?
Zero, none. I'm just hitting the walls. No response. This is so dehumanizing. And this is worst experience of my life. Okay, so you come as an international student, you pay international tuition fees, which
Yes.
is times 3 or 4 than a regular student, and clearly that money goes to fund their own universities, their own programs. And so somehow, and then you work for these employers, not just my employer. I know people. One of my friends, she was working at Subway, not here in Newfoundland, but somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Her employer she would work 5 days a week, and for 6 and 7 days, she would go to her employer's house and clean the house for no charge. Because she said, if you want help from our side, you have. I know people who have paid $25,000 USD just in order to be in Newfoundland. They paid their money so that they can get that visa and so that they can get that help from the employer.
Pay the money to whom?
To employers. So just so that the employers can give them papers, because you can't just apply without those papers, right? So and people who have done everything by the book, by the law, are thrown under the bus. Right now, mind you, this provincial policy they are talking about, I have read everything. This is not official policy, so it's not something that they cannot work around. It's just they don't want to work around. And mind you, in my case, I was only few days short. It's not even a matter of a month, less than a month. And so they reopened my file and they refused my application. So one was that I was a little under 12 months period. A second reason, and that's a really interesting part, I applied to mine on the side because I'm 25 years old. I have no spouse, no kid, no pet. I have lots of free times on my hands, right? So I was you know what? I don't want to be a 30-year or 35-year-old dude and I have no education under my belt. So I just applied to MUN on the side, right? Just to be more productive. And they said, because you applied to MUN without your intentions, you don't want to work, you want to study. Does that make even sense?
Not really. Every individual case is different, and there's no way I can get, the intricacies of the immigration laws and the changes that were made recently. I'm just thinking to myself out loud here, I'd love for the Immigration Minister, Jerry Byrne, to give me a shout if he's listening or any of his people are listening, just to try to get a landing spot of exactly where our numbers and our obligations are and what we ever ended up working out. If I were doing this show every day, I'd probably be on the top of it a little more, but, as a reporter, you're out rushing around covering all the other stories on the face of the earth. The actual intricacies of where the numbers are right now and your particular situation, I wonder how many other people are in the same boat. I'm sure there are many. But when they change the, move the deck chairs around on the ship, as they say, it becomes very difficult. When you come in under one rule and they change them after the fact. Now, I'm not. With regard to your particular situation, I would need a little bit more understanding. But I'm just wondering where exactly your physical standing is right now. Are you in any risk of having to leave the country?
Oh yes. So right now,
immediate risk.
I'm going to be really honest with you. So my permit has been expired. I'm expired. I can't work. I'm right on my implied status or maintained status. I can stay here in this Canada as a visitor. So right now I'm just visiting basically and spending all of my money because I can't work and I have no job. I have no income.
Yeah, as a visitor, that limits anything you can do.
Yeah, exactly. So my employer, they said, okay, so now they said they will take me back. They said, So now they're telling me, yes, like we understand your situation, like whatever you paperwork end up needing, we will give you that. Like they are still, now they're supportive because they were telling me to work for them for 1 year, which I did. And now after that, they're completely fine. They said, yeah, we're okay. We will give you our support. And now the province, so now the rules are, and here's the interesting part. So I was in BC before, so I studied there. So if you study from BC or Saskatchewan or Manitoba, whatever, right? Then you have to have a 1 year of work experience here in Newfoundland, like regardless of your previous education or work experience. Earlier it was not like that. Earlier you can have a 1 year of work experience from anywhere. But if some person is outside for this program, you can apply from outside Canada as well. But if you're from outside Canada, you do not have to have that 1 year of work experience in Newfoundland, right? The specific Newfoundland. So that means people who are applying from abroad, it's easier for them. But if so I had experience from BC already, right? So it's not accepted anymore here in Newfoundland. So people who are moving from other parts of Canada are not being accepted, but people who have never been into this country before and have no Canadian experience and no culture. Like I went to school here. I worked here. I feel like I'm a part of Canadian culture now. I've integrated well in society. I have a house. I had a job. I have a house. All I just need is a status. Like, you know, I'm a young taxpayer.
Now, only because I've got to get off to the break. Obviously your story could go on. We could talk about every intricacy of it. I'm looking for other people who are in the same boat as you. Keep me updated. Keep us updated when Patty's back. I'm sure I know you've spoken to Patty before about this.
Right.
And you just got to keep it out there and keep it aware and keep people aware of it. Unfortunately, sometimes this is the best avenue for it, to make sure to keep it on the front burner. But whether or not, if you could get some more people to call in and people in the same situation as yourself, it strikes me that it is probably, ironically, easier for people first coming in clean with the new rules as opposed to people who are already here in the system, and that makes no sense at all either. But anyway, I got to get off to the break, Navid. Good luck, and keep Patty updated on the latest.
Sure, okay, thank you. I appreciate that. But I really want to say just one thing. I want answers. If I'm going home, I'm going home.
Fair.
But they can't get it. They need to sit down with me and they need to give me answers because this is really dehumanizing. This is I have wrote at least 20 emails or more to everybody and not even one single response. Reply to me. Give me answers.
Are there other? Just one quick question, and I got to go. Are there other Association for New Canadians and other groups that are out there have, liaisons with government that can take on individual cases like that? I mean, there are sources that don't leave you hanging out on your own without at least the information. And, there's only so long an MHA can ignore you. I mean, he's got to do what he can, and either he throws up his hands or there's no answer. So, but Navjat, I got to get off the break. I'm really sorry. But as I said, give Patty a call when he's back and update him on your situation. All right, Dave, well past the break. My apologies. Let's get off to it, and we'll come back with Dana on Line 5. Welcome back to Open Line. Brian Callahan in for Patty Daly today. Let's go right to Dana. Thank you for waiting patiently on Line 5. You're on the air.
Good morning, Brian.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Deer Lake.
Oh, you're off. 2 calls from Deer Lake today. You haven't seen the walking woman on the road, have you? And if you have, drop off a donation.
Well, it's an interesting thing. Because she mentioned the color purple.
Yes, for domestic violence. Yes, absolutely.
When I was in St. John's, I had a purple hat given to me. And my mother went over to the Salvation Army store a couple of days ago. And she brought me home a pair of purple pens. And I always write with a purple marker.
So purple's your color?
Make mention of Lori.
Yes, Lori Haggerty, yes.
Courageous and how undaunted she is. I mean, that woman's determination is off the scale. She's a trooper.
It really is. And, when she referenced right off the bat Terry Fox as the inspiration. I mean, walking or biking or getting across this country for a cause has become everything since. I mean, it was a thing before Terry Fox, but there's no question that if you ask people in required moments. It's absolutely, who do they think of when they think of inspiration to do something like this? And more often than not, he's the man.
She's in Terry Fox. I mean, I was here in Deer Lake when Terry Fox ran through the town, and I mean everybody was out there to see him, right? But I didn't make it over there, right? But I wish I had, because anyway.
Yeah, I love watching the old footage, and looking at people and just wondering if they had an appreciation in that moment. For what was happening, I mean, it's smaller town, St. John's, it's not Toronto. He's not starting it there. He's not starting in Vancouver. In many ways, it was a quiet, soft launch, only for the fact that, people really didn't appreciate what was about to happen and what was going to happen and the impact that he would have, and I think I recall, I mean, I was just in my early teens at the time, but I recall, a lot of thought of, I mean, this isn't, how far will he get, Argentia, or is he even going to go beyond Argentia? Will he get on the ferry in Argentia? Like, I think Steve Fogno did after him, who tried to replicate the journey.
Fogno, yes.
But, and there was that kind of thought, and nothing untoward against Terry Fox. It's just that this was something different that, we really couldn't, I don't think we could appreciate in the time. But if you look at the people who ran alongside, and you could tell there were people who really understood what was happening in the moment, that old footage is gold.
Then there was a man in motion, right? Steve, the guy in the wheelchair?
Yeah, Hansen.
Around the world, Steve.
Well, Steve was the other. Oh my God, man in motion. Rick Hansen. Rick Hansen was his name, of course, in the wheelchair. Yeah.
Rick Hansen, yes, the guy, the man.
Man in motion.
Yeah, that was incredible. He went through here too, on the road.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, Patty, I have something that I guess you could say is of a general concern. All the heat that we've been experiencing, and August isn't here yet. So, somebody mentioned to me one time about a possible solution, or at least it's something you could take a look at and consider for the heat, for dealing with the heat. If you have a fan and some ice, you could prop your fan up and have the fan blow through the ice to the person sitting in their most comfortable chair. So it would be a cooling agent for people who are in circumstances where they have no conditioning. And I just wanted to put that out there. It might be beneficial, especially to people in St. John's who are in these houses. Some of them are in trap houses, and they have no conditioning. They have nothing. So if they could get their hands on a fan and a bag of ice or some ice, all they got to do is sit in their most comfortable chair, and the wind from the fan blowing through the ice would be a cooling agent, right?
Yeah, it's
a plausible thing.
It's a plausible thing, but to be honest with you, the two things I picture are electrocution and getting cut by a fan. I mean, the two things that jump out at me right away are, makeshift things like that can be less than safe, can be hazardous to say the least. And I know what you're saying. Everybody's got to find their own way to stay cool. We don't have a lot of heat issues in the province, thank goodness. Our climate is a little bit more temperate than most.
I mean, we're really blessed here, and I mean we're in like the eye of the storm here. I mean, a lot of.
But I would just stress care with those ideas. Now I know, it's not. It's I mean, if you can be careful. I'm sure adults are very responsible and careful. But when you get people trying to come up with these makeshift ideas, and all of a sudden the water gets into the electricity, or the fan gets the towel gets caught in the fan, or
you gotta be careful.
I don't want to put my fingers anywhere near a fan. It just gives me the willies.
But it might be an alternative. If you play it right, it could be very beneficial to people who are struggling with heat exhaustion. Because a lot of people, I'm the same way. I used to be very, very sensitive to heat, right?
Yeah.
But my body chemistry or whatever changed or whatever. I can handle a lot more heat than I could before.
The little handheld fans are great too. Put a couple of batteries in them, carry them around with you. But I know what you're saying. I don't know if we've gotten to the sweltering or the stifling point yet. Again, the mercury's supposed to hit 30 in St. John's around today, and of course probably warmer in Central and around Badger area. But in any event, I would just stress caution with any kind of makeshift ideas to keep yourself cool. A pool. The pools are open today in St. John's. That's always a good idea. But if you're stuck into a situation where you're indoors and you got no other thing, and it's pretty warm, and the windows aren't going to help because the breeze coming in is just as hot as the temperature in the room. Yeah, you might come up with something.
It might be a viable option.
Yeah,
it might be.
Yeah, or just wrap the ice in a cloth and put it on your head.
Brian?
Yes.
All the people who died in British Columbia of the heat exhaustion back in the day there, it's very unfortunate, It's very unfortunate.
Yeah, it's more than unfortunate. It's horrible, tragic, especially you get into the valley in the Okanagan in BC. We think it's hot here.
Yeah, so it may be a viable option. It's not expensive. I mean, you can go buy a little 12-inch fan for $20, and all you need is a refrigerator with a spare bag of ice, or you could tailor it, You could make it. You could have somebody who's got their home support worker, they're in their favorite chair in the window looking out at their favorite scene, and they could have a cooling agent like that. I just wanted to present that because it seems to be a general concern, and it's starting to warm up.
Yep, absolutely, Dana. Couldn't agree more. Just be careful whatever you're doing to stay cool, and you stay cool too, and I'm off to the break.
Okay, Brian. Have a good day, my friend.
Thanks for the call, Dana. Stay cool. All right, Dave, let's take that break. We'll be right back with, where are we going after that? We'll go back to Debbie Sampson right after the break. Welcome back to Open Line. Brian Callahan in for Paddy, July 14th, Monday. Orangeman's Day in some circles, so if you're in the metro area, city offices are closed, but everything else is a go. Dump, garbage, street cleaning, parking, you name it. Let's go to line 3, and Debbie, you're on the air.
Good morning, Brian.
Good morning.
I just want to take a moment to talk about complex PTSD and an event that I'm going to be participating in on the Eastport Peninsula on Wednesday evening from 7 to 8:30 at the SUF Hall.
Sure.
I am from the Eastport Peninsula. I grew up and spent most of my childhood in Burnside, and I was a victim of childhood abuse. And I was listening to Lori as she is talking about her walk across the country, and that's amazing. I'm so proud of her to be raising awareness about domestic violence. My mother could have been the homicide victim. I recall a time when my father shot at her in the yard. So, that's just one of the things that we had to endure from his abuse. As a result of the abuse that I endured, and I spent also some time in foster care and in group homes and living on the streets when we moved to London, Ontario, so there was a lot of trauma that happened to me there as well. So as a result of that, I ended up with disability. I tried to live my life the best I could, with all of the trauma inside of my system. I suffered from anxiety and depression and insomnia and nightmares and all those things that go with that sort of thing for many, many, many years. But I did, become successful. I was a counselor in Labrador City for 25 years. But after a while, the trauma just could not contain itself. I lived years with antidepressants and they saved me, I guess, for a while, but all it did was press the trauma back into my nervous system, and I could not heal. So 13 years ago, I became disabled and was unable to do anything, just try antidepressant after antidepressant, and I just kept getting worse and worse and worse to the point that I was suicidal and I didn't want to live anymore. So 2.5 years ago, I discovered that psychedelics could heal trauma, and I went to New Brunswick, and my journey began using illegal psychedelics with a lady, and it was underground. But long story short, I discovered that I could use psychedelic cannabis, which is legal in Canada. And so for the past 2.5 years, I have been healing my trauma using psychedelic cannabis. And I'm also helping others to do that. I've written letters to the government. I've talked on Open Line before, trying to get our province to look into healing all of the mental health disorders that can be healed using psychedelic treatment, but, to no avail. So I just decided I got to go do this on my own. So I have healed myself. I can't say that I'm 100% healed, but, you know, I went back to school. I trained to be a psychedelic cannabis therapist, and I'm holding events around the province. I was in Labrador City a few weeks ago. I was in St. John's, and Wednesday night I will be back in my home community on the Eastport Peninsula doing an event to just bring awareness and tell people that there is hope for healing from trauma and complex PTSD, depression, anxiety, all those things, and mental disorders that are a result of trauma. And, you know, we all experience trauma. It may not be as extreme as mine, where you end up with a 13-year disability, but we all experience trauma. So I want to talk about, you know, my pain and going back to the Eastport Peninsula. I avoided that place for many, many, many years because going back there was so painful because of what I endured as a child. I was the only person in my high school, for my high school reunion, that didn't attend, and I just couldn't go back there to, you know, relive the painful memories and the anxiety and everything that came with it. So it's another part of my healing journey to go back to Eastport on Wednesday evening and to tell my story. I've also written a couple books, but, you know, if people are really interested in that, I'm not here to promote my book. I'm here to promote healing, because people like me have suffered for so long, and there's no need to suffer. And I'm so excited to say that I will be having a guest with me on Wednesday evening. Her name is Winnie Butler. Winnie currently lives in Glovertown, and tragically, Winnie lost her son, Jason Penny, through suicide last August. But Winnie reached out for help using psychedelic cannabis, and Winnie was a very, very broken woman who I met the first time that she came and started her journey of healing. And to see this woman, to be able to come out on Wednesday night and talk about her journey of healing, and, you know, also of Jason, so that we can remember Jason. And, you know, I know Jason's story is also of trauma, and if Jason could have sought help and got the proper help, Jason would be here today. But his mother is here today, and she is doing absolutely amazing. So I just want to let people know there is hope, and we'll be there on Wednesday at the SUF Hall at 7 o'clock on Wednesday if anybody is interested in learning more.
Yeah, Debbie, look, the psychedelics, and especially cannabis, it may not be for everybody, but it is amazing how that kind of abuse as a child, or what you witnessed as a child, you know, it can lay dormant for years, and then it can just manifest itself. You don't even realize it, and something triggers it. And later in life, just like all of our childhood memories, things come back to you. And especially if it was in any way traumatic, it's going to come back to you in a bigger and heavier way. And people will, you know, when you get to the point where you just can't find any way around it, and you're in that tussle in your brain with everything that's going on, people will turn to whatever they can turn to. And it's not just an emerging, you know, people still talk about it as emerging. You know, in the States, they've been doing it for years. There have been controlled supervision with psilocybin and those sorts of things. But cannabis seems to be taking off a little bit because people are more familiar with it. They feel it's a safer course. And, of course, any of these kind of, you know, whatever works for you. I mean, some people, it can even be, you know, a placebo, because there are, you know, issues where you don't even need to. It's constant battle with your own brain and what you experienced as a child or at any point in your life. And it's so unfair, and it taints the rest of your life, and it makes it this extra burden that you have to carry with you just to get through the day.
Absolutely. And, you know, you're right. Psychedelics were used years and years ago, but I mean, I'm a person who grew up in the 60s and 70s, and I remember, you know, the war on drugs, and this is your brain fried on drugs. And yep. I mean, you know, when I went to university and all of my education, I was taught, you know, you don't use drugs, and I drilled that into my children. But, you know, I eventually, 2.5 years ago, I saw a program on Netflix, and it was called How to Change Your Mind, and that definitely started to change my mind about psychedelics. And when I say psychedelic cannabis, I'm not talking about using it recreationally. You know, people have said, well, that's not going to work for me. You know, when I talk about a treatment with psychedelic cannabis, it's done in a controlled, safe environment. There's proper procedures to follow to keep the person safe. We play music. We put on an eye cover. You know, and the trauma releases from the body because all of the trauma is stored in our nervous system. And it's something I want to say is that I was well into my disability, and all of a sudden I was talking about a very tragic incident that happened to me. Actually, I was writing my first book, and I was writing about when my father was killed in a car accident, and I started to shake, and I started to seize up, and it was bizarre, and I could not figure out what was wrong with me. That went on for a few years, and many psychiatrist visits and many admission to the psychiatric ward in Corner Brook Hospital and ambulance rides and so on and so forth. Nobody knew what was wrong. What I come to understand, and thank God for my education and my background and my learned and lived experience, I was able to figure out that I had, and I say had because I haven't had a seizure. It was a seizure disorder. I haven't had one for almost 2 years because of my healing using psychedelic cannabis. But that was a psychogenic non-epileptic seizures. And Winnie, who's going to be with me on Wednesday evening, interestingly, I've been working with Winnie, you know, since last year when her son passed away. And I was speaking to Winnie when she was going through a really difficult time, and Winnie was starting to shake. And Winnie said, I don't know what to do, Debbie. I don't know what to do. And, you know, in my mind, I was thinking, I never thought I'd ever say that I was glad I had seizures. I mean, mine lasted anywhere from 45 minutes to 5 hours, sitting in a chair, looking like the woman that they did the exorcism on in that movie. I forget the name of the movie now, but they did the exorcism. Right?
There you go. Yeah.
It was very bizarre. But I said to Winnie, I said, you're shaking, and the reason you're shaking is because the trauma you're experiencing wants to come out of your nervous system. And Winnie has been doing the treatment, and she's able to get all that under control, and she's able to release the trauma to her nervous system, which happens by shaking. Had Winnie and I not been talking, Winnie would have gone to the hospital. She may have been admitted because she was in an extreme situation, and she probably would have put on medication, which further would have suppressed everything in her nervous system, and she wouldn't be the woman who is the strength that she has today.
Debbie, only because and only because I'm well past the break. I'm sorry. The biggest enemy of Open Line is the time. Can you give me the where and when again for this, where yourself and Winnie will be?
Wednesday, July the 16th, 7 to 8:30 at the SUF Hall in Eastport, and everybody is just welcome to come out and have a listen.
Debbie, I appreciate the call. Thank you. PTSD is hard enough. When you get into complex PTSD, any type of PTSD, is debilitating, no matter what and whatever level. So thanks for the call. Thanks for the awareness, and good luck with your event on the 16th.
Thank you, Brian. And I want everybody to remember that there is hope for healing.
Absolutely. Thank you. All right. And, I've always said this before, but everybody's got a drug of some kind or another. Everyone's got a drug. And that doesn't necessarily mean a drug like cannabis or any kind of, it means just something. Everybody's got something that they need to sort of level them out. We're not born perfect, and it's not just natural. It may be the water that you need to hydrate that keeps you from fainting or from cramping. But everybody's got something that they need to sort of even them out, make them feel like, okay, I feel good right now. And whether or not it's at a good night's sleep, or whether or not it's recreational cannabis, and whether or not it's supervised cannabis to get through PTSD, as Debbie was talking about. Everybody's got something, and there's no shame in it, as long as it's moderated and moderation and not illegal. There you go. Let's take that break, Dave, and we'll be right back with John Brooks on line 4 right after the break. Welcome back to the show. Off to line 4, John Brooks, you're on the air.
Good morning, Brian. How are you?
Morning, John. How's your golf game, or at least how's your golf? Darren, what's the word for it? Referee game. No. What's the word I'm looking for?
You're looking for golf experience.
Marshall, that's the word I was looking for. Dave.
Marshall, right.
Thank you, Dave.
No, I was. Yeah, just that wasn't the main reason I called this morning. Obviously.
No, but you do this under.
I went up.
Yeah, you're a regular at the Canadian Open.
Yeah, we spoke in May before I went up. The tournament was June the 2nd to 9th, I went up with my good friend Dave King, and we were marshals on the 8th hole, actually. So we had an opportunity to do a regular shift on the Pro-Am day on Wednesday, and then Thursday to right through to Sunday. Great experience, as always. We were on the 8th hole, which was a kind of a dog-leggy par 4, interesting hole. And so they generally, with marshals, they rotate you around from the tee to the fairway to the green, so you get to see a lot of action, and depending on the spectators and the level, you're there where you're required as well.
And hobnobbing with the number 1, 2s, and 3s and 4s in the world.
Well, I don't know about hobnobbing, but you're inside the ropes, which is wonderful, and so you get a chance to watch these players. Regular PGA Tour players. Some of the best in the world. Rory was there, Rory McIlroy. Unfortunately, he missed the cut.
Yes.
But a number of Canadians were there. This year, I think we had 11 or 12 Canadians in the field. 7 or 8 played consistently on the PGA Tour.
Rory almost won the Scottish on the weekend. Came second, unfortunately.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, second. Finished second.
Yeah.
But anyway,
yes.
Corey Connors, Taylor Pendrith, Nick Taylor were actually in contention, but unfortunately they kind of fizzled out on the last day. So there was a bit of buzz and a bit of excitement for a while on Sunday, but it was interesting. Had a very had a very enjoyable time as always. And for me it's a chance to I guess to do this volunteering, to be
Absolutely.
Inside the ropes, but also you end up hanging out with golf fanatics 24/7, which is great as well.
Yes, sir. Now, John, I'm looking at the clock. You've got a big plug for the St. John's Masters fundraiser. Giver.
Yes, I do. So I'll be quick on that, Brian. So yeah, the St. John's Masters Association, slow pitch, over 40. Generally, we're our average age about 55 to 60. We start in May. We go till September. We have one of the reasons I called in this morning was we have a mid-season tournament starting. It'll be concluding on the weekend, July 19th to 20th. We sponsor. It's called the Kids Eat Smart mid-season tournament. We obviously sponsor Kids Eat Smart. We make a substantial donation to them, and for those that aren't familiar with Kids Eat Smart, it's a breakfast, primarily breakfast. I think also a lunch program that's run during the school year by a non-charitable or a non-profit charity association called Kids Eat Smart. They do great work, and of course, we are delighted in our league to sponsor this. I don't in any way pretend to be an expert in this area, but we know that there is a substantial connection between learning, especially learning at the childhood level, and hunger and nutrition. And so we're just absolutely delighted to be able to sponsor that. The tournament will be going on all Saturday and Sunday, so we encourage anybody to come up. And there'll be a presentation at the end of the tournament to a representative from Kids Eat Smart. We've also got a barbecue on the go during the weekend. So if anybody is interested, please come up at any time, including yourself, Brian. Come up at any time, and you'll see some pretty good softball play. From older fellows, but you'll have a chance as well to mingle and see the play on the field, and perhaps even speak with the representative from Kids Eat Smart. Again, a very good and very worthwhile organization, and we're absolutely delighted to be involved in supporting them.
Absolutely. Great cause. The only downside is that there's kids are going to really rake me over the coals for this one, but only downside is there's no school right now, so we all know that without school in place, some kids can't access Kids Eat Smart, can't access a morning breakfast like they would in school. It's one of those safety nets that when school does start, that's there again. I'm not sure if there's some way, maybe the Masters League can look into that even. Maybe there's some kind of situation that can be set up where there is a place for kids who otherwise might have trouble getting a breakfast in the morning during the summer months. And I'm sure they have them during camps and that sort of thing, but there might be something there to talk about and discuss to fill that void over the summer months, John?
Yep. Those are good points. During it ramps up again. It's sort of September right until sort of the end of June. So yeah, there's perhaps we need, we definitely need a safety net between, July and August. Good point.
Absolutely. John Brooks, you're not wearing your other hat today, your legal hat, but I look forward. I'm sure I'll see you down around the courts.
Okay, you take care, Brian.
Thanks again, John, for the call. Appreciate it. Good luck.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, bye. All right, Dave, let's off to the news.
You're listening to a rebroadcast of VOCM Open Line. Have your say by calling 709-273-5211 or 1-888-590-8626 and listen live weekday mornings at 9 a.m.
And welcome back to Open Line. Let's see, last hour of the show for this Monday. Let's go right to line one. And Walter Harding, you're on the air.
And how are you today, young man?
I'm grand, sir. Filling in these one-offs are wild.
Well, you know what? You're going over on your time, on your breaks there, so you're just like when Patty first started. So you're filling good shoes.
Yeah, those are all the little tricks. You got to make sure you keep it somewhat familiar so people don't completely tune out. And I mean, you can't kill the show, but it's also hard to rise to Patty's level. Sorry, and especially on, there's lots going on in the world, and trying to fall into it and make sure that you keep your eyes and your P's and Q's in check.
I get it. I don't know sometimes how you folks keep up with everything, because there's so much. It's not like 40 years ago where the news was just
in the daily news.
Yeah. And now it's just every minute around the world something is happening, and you have to, of course, with social media and stuff. So you've got to be on top of it all the time. I don't know how you guys do it.
Walter, I appreciate that because it does dawn on us sometimes that it must be interesting to people when they call and ask us out of the blue, how come you're not covering this story? Well, it's because we're covering the other 150 today. So it's not for the it's a learning curve for all of us. Like as social media evolved and the different sources, and then what's real and what's not, and then trying to push back against stories that aren't even yours when people call you with facts that aren't accurate. So, yeah, it's wild, it's daunting, and you got to really be careful and scrutinize everything you see and hear and make sure it's, dare I use the term, fact-checked. But you called about Terry Fox Memorial, which I think I'm on board with you.
You know what? I heard a little conversation you had with a lovely caller 3 or 4 callers ago. We were downtown on Thursday, and whenever the ship was in, and don't get around as much as I used to. A few injuries and surgeries and stuff, and 40 years of working on hard sports. So
I hear you.
The old feet are barking at you all the time. But I did have an opportunity to say hello to a few dozen people, and one of the lovely ladies asked me for directions to the Terry Fox Memorial. And I literally said to her, okay, go down this street and don't take a turn. Go as far as you can and then look right. Really? I said, yes. There is really no directions to it. It's just it's hidden away. It's a hidden gem. And, of course, then I took the opportunity to let her know that right across the street from the Terry Fox Memorial was Temperance Street and the Four Sisters, built by Samuel Garrett, who built, of course, Cabot Tower. So it's a nice little way to get them to look at two things at once. And this is not being negative. I'm not throwing rocks at anybody or anything like that at the city, but I would love to see some, clear directions to the Terry Fox Memorial. When he started that journey, April 12, 1980, it was
rain, drizzle, and fog.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think that enough people get to enjoy Lubin Boykov's not only the statue, not only the honor that he did there for Terry Fox, but it's such a beautiful space, Brian. Yeah. It's such a beautiful space there, and there's so much literature there and photographs and plaques. It's a wonderful place to go and spend 10 or 20 minutes, and when you leave it, you feel like you're educated and you're refreshed and you're renewed, and you have honored the memory of Terry Fox. Yeah. Problem is, we got to get people to it.
Yeah, and I mean, look, there's an intimacy about where it is, and of course, it's where it is because it's where he did it. But there's an intimacy to it. I agree. I mean, most people tell me now they just Google it. and they'll find their way. But you know, and there's other way. I know what you're saying. It's not the first time people have complained about it. It is kind of tucked away. I think for most people, they think if if they're there to find it, they'll find it. They'll ask someone, or they'll Google it, and they'll find out where exactly it is. But what do you suggest specifically? Like, what does it need, in your opinion?
Very simple. Some signage, some arrows, and some signage, and perhaps his face on a few signs, on Duckworth and New Gower, and maybe by City Hall.
Kind of the way they lead you. Sorry, I was going to say, kind of the way they lead you to, say, the signs that are clearly for getting to a national park, or for getting, or just getting to the TCH. You can always find it. There's a sign that says, you see the Canadian or the Maple Leaf on that green sign, that's the route to the TCH.
Yep, totally understand that, and I do appreciate what you said about Googling the location. I will say this. The individuals who were on that big cruise ship, a lot of the individuals who were on that big cruise ship last week were holding up paper maps. And they were downtown, and they were holding up this map, and and it's there are still people who love that intimate setting of being without electronics.
Yep.
So, for the costs associated to put up a few signs, I think it would show great respect for Terry Fox, and it would help people get to his memorial a heck of a lot easier.
Yeah, it's come up before, and I know that the city is content with what's there. Maybe there's a time for a refresher conversation about what they actually think of it, maybe a little chat around a table, around the horseshoe down their city council bunker, and just to say, can it be done better? I guess, with these things, Walter, the way it goes. It's how many people are complaining about it. I mean, is it causing enough of a problem or enough of a stir for enough people to get their attention to make a change? To be honest with you, if I were on a cruise like that and had nowhere to be, I'd be using paper maps too.
Yeah. And the folks, the individuals who are looking to go to the Terry Fox Memorial or other places here in the city and in the province, they're not going to complain about it. Once they leave this port, they go to another port or they go home.
That's right.
And they have family to tend to, and they have to get back to work and stuff. So they're not going to really take the time. I don't think they will anyway, even though they would like to, even though they get back on their ship or get back on the plane. Yeah. It's like, gosh, I really wish I could have gotten to the Terry Fox Memorial, but I couldn't find it.
Yeah.
So, it's just a few dollars for a few signs. During an election, the city is plastered with signs. So the cost of a few signs to show where the great Terry Fox Memorial is, I don't think it's too much to ask.
Yeah, it might get lost. They won't be able to see the sign for the forest for the trees as far as election campaigns and provincial and municipal coming up. So, there'll be lots of signs coming up in the next few months for people to look at. Maybe a bigger one than all of those if Terry Fox is more necessary. Thanks a lot, Walter, for the call on that note. Especially, it's very timely, tourism season and beautiful day like this today. Although I will say a paper map is probably out of any kind of paper maps that were printed that they're looking at are probably, they were out of date the moment they were printed. That's the only thing about that paper map. At least online today, you can get it in real time. So,
totally get it.
Absolutely.
I appreciate your time. Thank you,
Appreciate
Brian.
it. Thanks. I should ask, Walter, are you going to offer again this time around? Oh, put you on the spot.
Well, I love my city.
Yeah.
I really love my city. So I don't know, Brian.
That's the number one consideration, What do you want to see happen?
I appreciate that, though. Thank you.
No, listen, you're always on the ticket, and appreciate the effort that you always make to throw yourself. We always say, we got to get the best and brightest and the people with the most experience. And you've been in that game for a long time now, and you know the issues. So it was I just thought it was a fair question to ask you if you're thinking about running again, municipal politics. But we'll find out when the time comes.
You can ask me anything you want, my friend. Thank you for your time.
Thanks again, very much.
Thank you, buddy. See you.
All right, Walter Harding, thank you very much for the call. Dave, right on the break. Look at that. You can thank me later. We'll take the break and be right back. Welcome back to Open Line. Brian Callahan in for Patty on this Monday, July the 14th. Let's go to line number 2. And Albert, you're on the air.
Yes, my name is Albert Connors, and I'm trying to get a cottage in Bethesda, Lions Manor, right? It's the one-bedroom cottages, and they're telling me that it's a 17-year wait, and I know people that got in 1 year.
So, Walter, what are you looking for, Albert? What are you looking for exactly? Like, what supports do you need? Do you just what's your situation?
Like the place I'm living in now is up for sale, and I got to rehab it, right? And I got nowhere to go, right?
Well, you and thousands of others, by the sounds of it, from what I'm hearing and what we're seeing, people looking for, like, especially in St. John's area, you got people selling places, and if you're a tenant, if somebody's selling your house, then you got to get out and find a place, and it's never. I mean, the move these days, and finding something affordable. Yeah. So, who have you been in contact with, and who has said yes? And 17 years seems like a long time. Why did they give you Why did they say 17 years?
Eastern Health.
Let's face it, Albert. There's policies here that people are following, not necessarily the people, the individuals themselves. Yeah. Really, we need to know about your situation and the difficulty you're up against, just generally with what you need, and we'll see if we can find a place for you. So, what do you need? You just need a one-bedroom. Where are you now?
No, I want a cottage, right?
Well, what you want?
I'm a disability, right?
Right. So, do you qualify for the programs within Eastern NL Health Services?
Yeah.
Okay. And what do you qualify for?
For a college.
But one that's not available for 17 years.
Yeah.
Okay. So, are you looking elsewhere?
You could be 17 years, right?
Have you looked into any other options?
No, I don't know. Well, they offered me to go in the home, right? But I don't want to go in the home.
Well, I mean, you can appreciate, Albert, there's a lot of people in tough situations who don't want to do this and don't want to do that. But if it comes down to a roof over your head and the basic necessities of having a place to live, wouldn't you be open to taking whatever you can get in the interim until there's something more acceptable? I mean, the old line, beggars can't be choosers applies, right?
Right?
Pardon me?
If you go in the home, you won't get in the cottage then.
Well, it's a decision you have to make, and it's not like we all have the luxury of, picking and choosing these days. I mean, it's limited at best with a lot of people in tough situations. As you said, whether it's with a disability or whether it's just the cost of being able to find a place that they can afford. But I'd say a lot of people would love the option. I'd love to have an option. As opposed to, if you're faced with maybe it's not going to be 17 years, maybe that's on the outside, and who's to say if it could actually be 17? That's a number that's probably been given for one reason or another, but there's always exceptions to every rule. Who else have you been speaking to about that? So, there are people probably yelling at the radio saying, look,
Just them two girls.
Okay. And, I mean, they're giving you... Is there any reason to believe, and we don't need to, again, mention, is there any reason that you believe that they're, not giving you the accurate information, or are you satisfied that...
Yeah, and then I came into the accurate racing because I know people that got in 1 year.
Well, I mean, and every situation is different, right? I mean, everybody is in a different boat, and you qualify for certain programs that other people might not qualify for. They have to have those,
I'm a disability, and I got asthma, and I live on a little hill, right? And I got to walk up there. I had to stop 4 times to get up.
What?
And over in Basentia, you're on the level, right? So it's easier to walk around, right?
Oh, certainly. Hills aren't good if you have asthma. What supports do you have now in the place that you're living now?
The place I live now, I gotta be out because it's up for sale.
Right, but what kind of supports do you have from the provincial government? What are you receiving?
Canada pension.
Yeah, are you in support? Do you have any supports, like any supportive programs that you applied that you're qualified for? Do you have home care? Do you have any kind of assistance from the provincial government?
No.
So you're paying your rent. How do you pay your rent?
I pay I'm getting a disability.
Okay, so that's what I was talking about. So you are getting some kind of supports.
Yeah.
Okay. And is there like any? So there's no option there. You can't stay in that house. This is a private home that you were staying in, was it?
Yeah.
Okay. And they're telling you that your options are up to a 17-year wait, or you could go in. How long before you could go into a home?
I don't know.
Did they give you a wait time on that, like they did for the cottages?
No.
Okay. And when do you have to be out of your current residence?
September 1st.
Okay. So you got like less than 2 months.
Yeah.
And you don't know how soon you could get into. I'd suggest that'd be my first stop. If they're saying you do qualify for a home, as much as it may not be your preferred option, you know, you may have to take what you can get at this point if the other option is homelessness.
Oh, I used to be homeless.
Do you have any other support, family, relatives in the area? You're aware out in Placentia area, Freshwater.
Yeah.
Do you have any other friends or family or anywhere else that you have an option? Maybe if you had to move into St. John's, if you got friends or relatives there? Or...
No.
So you're down to just these two options, the home or the cottage?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, at least you have an option. There's a lot of people out there without any. So you may have to bite the bullet on this one, Albert, if it means... you know, some kind of at least peace of mind so you know that you have a place to live come September. I'd get on that pretty quick and find out what the wait is. If they've told you that's an option, that would be my first call. Otherwise, you're MHA, but I'm sure you've probably gone down that road.
But I don't want to go to an old-age home.
I can appreciate you may not want to, but what are your options?
I guess I'll have to wait for a cottage.
Okay, but where are you going to do that? I mean, if you don't have a place to live in the interim. I know. It's a bit of a rock and a hard place. It's a tough spot to be in, you know. But health issues that debilitate your ability to be able to just live anywhere are something we all have to deal with, whether or not it's through our own doing, you know. Maybe not saying your particular case, but, you know, we all maybe don't look...
If someone else can get a cottage in a year, there's no reason why I can't get one.
Well, yes, there are. And that's the whole point. There are lots of reasons why some people will get one and other people will not. Maybe they've been on the wait list longer. Maybe they have different needs that make it easier. You know, health conditions, you know, everybody needs different, everybody has different needs when they move into a place. So some people can't move at all. And so I wouldn't compare your situation to anyone else who's getting a cottage. I would steer clear of that because you don't know what that other person's situation is. And you shouldn't, because it's very private stuff. But, you know, again, I would just recommend that if you've been down this road, first of all, being as polite and courteous as you possibly can be with the people that are trying to help you, because they're in it to help you. And so, you know, it doesn't help when, you know, different people are looking for different things from the government and getting on the phone and cursing and swearing or going at them. I'm not saying you are, but...
Oh, no, I don't do that.
I'm not saying you are, but people do. And there's abuse through that that staffers and officials take on a daily basis over this kind of stuff, you know. But sometimes we got to take responsibility for our own situations. And some of us aren't in the best health through our own doing. And, you know, and then the same people will go and complain about health care for us forever and a day. And, you know, in many cases, we made our own beds, you know. So we can't be so quick to just throw it all on the health department when, you know, they are the reactive, trying to be proactive with the 10-year health care plan. But, Albert, is there anything else you want to say today? I got right up to the break here for news. But my only advice to you, would be nice to those people at NL Health Services and take what you can get in the interim. Who knows what can happen down the road? They may say you can't get a cottage now, but rules change.
Yeah.
So get in the queue anyway, and make sure you got a roof over your head come September.
Yeah.
Okie doke. All right, good luck. Thanks, Albert. All right, Dave, let's get off to the news and back for the final half hour.
The Tim Powers Show. Join the conversation weekday afternoons at 4 p.m. on your VOCM.
Into the home stretch for Monday on Open Line. Brian Callahan in for Paddy Daly today. Let's go right to line one. And Dion, you're on the air.
Yeah, good morning, Brian.
Morning. You're calling from right up the tip of the Great Northern, aren't you? Great Northern Peninsula.
Yes, yeah, that's it. Little town outside St. Anthony here.
Yeah, that little town is?
Great Bra.
You know, and I saw it on my screen, and I said, why does that ring a bell? And first of all, it just, not that I didn't know it existed, but I'm trying to remember, and I first stumbled upon the name of that community back in 91. One of my first jobs as a journalist, or one of my first trips, was to St. Anthony for they recreated the sailing in of the Viking ship Gaia when it sailed in through Lansom Meadows. To commemorate the 100th year anniversary of the Leif Erikson's expedition, right? And the Prince was up. I think the royal family. I think it was Prince Andrew at the time, and we all got sucked in by fog, and we ended up spending almost 3 or 4 days up there at Lansom Meadows. But it was beautiful. Anyway, off on a tangent. You're not calling about that.
Well, you won't be flooded with water up here in Great Britain, anyways. Not this morning.
Good segue. I was going to do the same. Go ahead.
Yeah. Anyways, Brian, since Friday dinner time, the community here have lost their water, right? And not a stain coming through the tap. Well, 2 or 3 people got a bit of water now, but you got 30 families here, by. And
no water since Friday.
Since Friday around noon, I think it was, by.
What's the source of water for your community, do you?
Well, there's a pond up there by the side of the road. That's all you can call it. It's not a water supply or nothing. It's just a pond with a spillway now and a hose out in.
Right. So it's all got to be treated.
Yes, and now Brian is not being treated because the money is not there from the local service district. Right. Right.
And how long has that been the case?
What?
And how long has that been the case? How long have you been beating that drum?
By my son. They've been after the MHAs and everything now here for the last 10 years trying to get a bit of money to repair the water. It's now a water line in a small community and now it's hold down in the bog. It's what the joiners and everything is like in that now.
Yep.
Yeah, everything is just rusted out, Brian.
Yeah, there's infrastructure issues that come with all of that kind of makeshift supply of water for smaller communities. And there's funding there, and there's all kinds of infrastructure funding within the provincial government, but you've never made the cut?
No, they've been at it by the local service district, as meetings, public meetings and stuff, and still nothing.
So what response have you received to what has been, do you have water today?
No, nothing. We got kids here this morning, Brian, now, been outdoors, 25, 26 degree temperatures all weekend now. Full sunscreen, Floyd open, everything. No, can't get a watch. Go to daycare this morning. It's unacceptable, by.
Yeah, people would say in this day and age.
It is 2025, by.
And what communication, if any, who looks after the local civil service district up there? Who's answerable?
Got a committee, right? The local service district got a committee, and they've been reaching out to the MHA and the MPs. Nothing over the weekend. Nothing smarting. And it's not going to be no water today. It's not even. They got an emergency meeting now this evening, 6:30.
And where is that going to take place?
Well, it's going to take place in the community hall.
Okay. 6:30 tonight. And who are you expecting there? Are you going to have, is there an MHA? Who's your MHA?
There's nobody going to be there, Brian. It's only going to be the committee.
Is that Crystalline Howell, your MHA, though, for the area? Or who's the...
Yeah, Crystalline Howell.
Okay. And any communication from her office? I mean, yes, a minister, an important minister at that, but... the district, first job of a minister and a politician is to get elected. And if you don't take care of your district, you're not going to get elected.
They'll go rapping on doors next time.
But you've no word from the MHA, no word from the government, no word from anyone other than?
No, nothing, Brian. Nothing this morning. I sent off, a message there to Crystal Lynn, and I reached out to Carol Anasty. Now, they're not going to get back to you within a few hours anyways. You know what I mean?
What's the problem with the line?
Is a joiner broke again over there. Yeah, right where the T comes. They got a T there, the intersection.
Right.
Then it goes down the road one way, and then it goes up the arm. We call it.
Right. And the joiner is
right where the T is to now. Is a joiner broke. They had a piece of equipment down the weekend and is saturated by. You can't even get a piece of equipment out there. But he got stuck. He had to come back with another excavator to get these out, and he just pulled out.
So
can't do nothing with it.
So there was an effort there. Who was that? Him doing out of the goodness of his heart, or was that?
No. The local service district are a fuller.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just week after week now, Brian.
And so you don't know how long this is going to last. Oh, so week after week. So it's a recurring issue.
Yes, but you you fix that joiner over there now this evening, there might be another one gone next week now down the road another ways.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's just unacceptable. But the wife here this morning, oh man, had to get the wash with a face cloth, oh man.
Gotcha. Well, we got it out there, Dion. It's in the VOCM queue, and I'm sure we can probably get some response to this. I mean, if the MHA is listening, if anyone up in the area is listening, maybe we can get some kind of answer, and hopefully you can have something a little more concrete by the time the meeting happens tonight at 6:30.
Well, if it was anywhere else on the Brian, I tell you, it would be a state of emergency now.
Pardon me?
You know, this is the fourth day with no water. 90% of the population there are seniors, man.
And what are you doing for it? Are you just going get buckets for now?
You got to go up the pond there now with buckets. Now, put them in your truck, bring them down now, lodge them by the toilet now for the flush your toilet. You tell me now, 2025. That's what people got to be at. And seniors, ask the seniors, boy, can't go get a bucket of water.
Yeah, somebody have to do it for him. Dion, I got to get off. Got a couple of calls left before the end of the show. I hear you. Others have heard you.
And also, Brian, 2-inch line now inside with mud. He's down to about an inch. Now, you just get your finger in with mud.
Ugh. All right, it's out there.
You know what that's like now, watch white clothes?
Dion, I got to get off the break. But I'll tell you what, please let us know. If the meeting is tonight, give us a shout tomorrow and let us know how it went. Tell us if you got any kind of solution.
Okay, buddy.
All right. Thanks for the call. Good luck. All right, Dave, quick break or go right to Petty Officer? Let's take a quick break and then back with Petty Officer on our update as they come into the finale and the conclusion and the end of the Run the Rock for this year. We're going to talk to Petty Officer Holly Green right after the break. And welcome back to the show. Short on time here, so let's go right to line number 3. And Petty Officer, 2nd Class HMCS St. John's, Holly Green, you're on the air.
All right.
How you doing?
Nice to meet you. How you doing today?
Okay, we have a really good. We've got a slight problem with the line, Holly. Dave's going to fix that up. I'm going to go right to St. Vincent's. No way, not going to go. We have St. Vincent, St. Stephen's, Peters River Mayor Verna Hayward on the line. We're going to go to Verna in a moment, see if Dave can fix up that phone line real quickly, and we'll go right back to Petty Officer Holly Green on line 1. Let's try again. You're on the air.
All right. Hi there this morning.
That's so much better.
All right. Perfect. So for anybody that hasn't heard of Run the Rock, this is actually our 30th annual run, and we are Royal Canadian Sailors representing HMCS St. John's, doing our 30th Run the Rock, and we are running from Port aux Basques to St. John's, raising money for Make-A-Wish.
Holly, it strikes me that you'd said off the top for anyone who's not aware, it strikes me that you'd had to be living under a rock not to know about Run the Rock.
I sure hope the word's gotten out by now, yes.
Oh, yeah. But you're finished. It finishes up today, correct?
It is a little bittersweet, but yes, we do finish up today. So we've got a group of guys that are running to St. John's, and we're going to meet at the War Memorial for 3:30, and we're heading to Topsail Beach to dip the flag there. So we dip the flag in Port aux Basques to signify the beginning of the run, and then we'll dip it again to signify the end, sadly. But
Holly,
so we've been making our rounds and raising money along the way.
And in some pretty nice warm weather. I hope you're all staying hydrated.
We have had the best weather. A little warm for our runners, but hopefully, like you said, they're staying hydrated, and we'll make it today with no heat or hydration.
Holly, do you mind if I ask your hometown?
So I was born in St. John's, raised in Halifax. We have quite a few of the guys that are from Newfoundland.
Do you know how I can tell you were raised in Halifax?
How's that?
Because anyone who pronounces Topsail Road didn't grow up in St. John's. It's the easiest way to tell. It's not an insult, but if you're a journalist or anyone in this province and you're listening and you run into somebody and they say either Topsail Road or Pouch Cove, you know that there's a little bit of a disconnect there. But that's okay. It's not a criticism. It's just a way of knowing. It's a sign.
That's a sign.
Great. No idea how much you raised this year, hey? I guess the big tally will be at the conclusion.
The big tally will be tonight, but I know that we're over, I think, 125,000 now. So if we could really get the push on today and get some donations and make what we can for Make-A-Wish before tomorrow's closing ceremonies, that would be amazing.
And forgive me for my ignorance, but what's the take been in past years?
Well, I know last year they raised $151,000 for Make-A-Wish. So if we could beat that, we'd be extremely happy.
And you say
anything is great, but let's beat them.
You say you're closing in on it, so that just means that's the signal for everybody to make that last push.
That's right. We got to dig deep in those pockets.
Absolutely. You'll see it. Where are the runners right now? Could you have an idea?
So the runners were at Bay Roberts. And they went through, we saw them when we were at the Legion in Burgess.
In where, sorry?
Brigus.
Oh, Brigus, you got it. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. All right, so they're coming the old road.
Yes, they are, yeah.
Okay. Well, keep an eye out for them. People, open your pockets, open your wallets, open your debit cards, and let's push that over 151 for this year.
Let's do it. All right, thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Holly. Good luck.
Thanks. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
You too. Thanks. Okay. Time is short. Let's go right to line number 5. And Mayor Verna Hayward, St. Vincent, St. Stephen's, Peters River, you're on the air.
Hi. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
No, I was listening to a couple of callers ago talking about the Terry Fox Memorial.
Mm-hmm.
And I totally back him up 1,000%.
Yeah.
I have called VOCM Open Line in the past, and I've tried to I've contacted the government. I think it's actually a shame that many people do not know anything about this beautiful memorial.
Yeah, I wonder who doesn't. Only in the sense of, if you're aware of the man and the tremendous contribution he made to this country, and what he overcame, and the effort that he made. I think most people certainly are aware, and if you're looking for it, you can find it. I mentioned to Walter Harding earlier, I think that's the call you're referring to, that
yes.
There's an intimacy about where it is down there, and when you think about Terry Fox, in my mind's eye, I just picture such a humble, not looking for a spotlight, as opposed to just trying to accomplish what he was trying to accomplish for himself and for others who would come after him. But it's a debate that goes on, and for the people carrying around a paper map, it might be hard to find, but it seems that in this modern age, if you need to, or if you're looking for it and you want to find it, as opposed to just stumbling upon it, you could probably find it, but you don't think it's still adequate, eh?
I know. No, I don't. And I was a teacher for 34 years, and I made sure that the students in my care knew who Terry Fox was. And when I had full-time employment at Stella Maris in Trapassi, I started reaching out and finding team members and started making it a celebration. And then I came to Dunn Memorial in St. Mary's, and I did the same thing. And the children, we made it a celebration. I made sure the kids knew who Terry Fox was.
Sure.
We showed the video. We honored the people who are survivors, and then we went off on a walk, and we came back and we watched another video. And I met for the 25th anniversary. I met all of his family. I bought the book, and I know that it's the 45th anniversary this year. And the 40th anniversary was during COVID, so the schools couldn't do anything, but I did a community walk. And this year it's the 45th anniversary, so July 1st we celebrated Memorial Day in the garden first here in our town, honor of all those who served,
right.
And it's named Private Kevin Kennedy Memorial Garden. I don't know if you've ever seen it. And then we went over to do the Canada Day celebration, and I honored Terry Fox at that celebration. And I had a little boy who was present carry up the book. And I asked people in the audience how many people have seen the memorial. And I think there was 4 hands went up. And there were some outside tours there. And, you know, I said it's a place that everybody should go. And, like, he, in my mind, is the best Canadian that ever lived.
Yeah, you won't get much argument from people on that. Verna, I'm just curious. I only got a couple minutes left. Just last question. It's clearly near and dear to your heart for years and years and years as a teacher and everything else. What would you, just in a nutshell, what would you like to see?
I would like to see the provincial government and the city of St. John's do more to promote the Terry Fox Memorial.
Anything specific you can throw at him right now just to leave him with before
whatever it takes. I mean, you know, like have it on their web pages, like have it as part of the tourism. You know, like he has to be remembered. And I plan on this year doing a community walk. It's the 45th anniversary. And, you know, we've raised a lot of money in this area. Like, we only have a school of 60-odd kids, but we are up in the thousands of dollars that we have raised at our school. And, you know, like, I intend to do a community walk this year, and it's going to be on St. Vincent's Beach. But not only that, like, it's disappointing that, like, tourists come here and, like, it's not a place to visit. Like Bonavista, Twillingate, St. Vincent's Beach, Fairyland, Mistaken Point. Like, it should be on the radar.
Verna, I couldn't agree more. I got 3 minutes left. I got to squeeze in one more call. Can you give us a call?
Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Oh, listen.
I'm very passionate about Terry Fox.
Absolutely. I can hear it.
Hero.
It's coming right through the phone. And I may not be here, but upon Paddy's return, let him know when that walk is, and I'm sure he'll put it out there.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Okay, thanks for the call.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Great. Bye-bye. All right, last one for the show. Pam Parsons, Minister of Women and Gender Equity and, the MHA for Harbour Grace, Portagrave. You're on the air. I got 3 minutes, Pam. Give her.
Well, no longer women gender equality, Brian. I'm rural economic development, labor division, and the workplace now. But that's okay. That's
my
okay.
bad.
That's all important portfolios. But I just wanted to invite people. We just had the 50th anniversary, actually, for the Conception Bay Museum out here in Harbour Grace. This Saturday kicked off 50 years.
Right.
So, you know, there's so much happening out here in Harbour Grace, Portagrave, conveniently located just outside of St. John's, as we all know. So take that excursion around the bay. There's so much to see and do. And Portagrave, and, of course, Bay Roberts got their festival coming up as well, the Klondike Days. So I encourage everybody to come on out. But that said, Brian, very important. We've got some very needed road work happening in the district here, of course. Lots of pavement happening in Cranes Road. And just I want to remind motorists just to please keep a safe mind, safe thoughts in mind for those, of course, that are working on the roads. Because as we know, it is construction season, and it's going to be busy out here in our district. So I just wanted to, say happy summer. Welcome everybody, of course, to the district. There's always lots going on, lots of history, and lots to see and do and to enjoy. And, of course, our people are the most hospitable, I would say, in the province.
Yeah, I would have to say it's a funny thing, we complain about the roads. But then when the work starts happening and literally the rubber hits and the pavement hits the road, it's another issue altogether. Patience. I will say this, all the talk of speeding and dangerous driving and recklessness and carelessness and mostly speeding, which we see every day. There's nothing, I know Patty talks about, there's nothing that slows down a driver quicker than a squad car or an RNC car or an RCMP cruiser. But just the same, grind and patch. You want to save your vehicles and maybe a few lives.
And where I'm always advocating, I'm fortunate enough that we've got some significant good paving out here over the years. Bay Roberts was done just a couple of summers ago, Portagrave, through Chilton Barons. Harvey Street was a big one in Harbour Grace. And this year we just completed some paving in Cranes Road in Upper Island Cove, and there'll be more paving through Spaniards Bay from Restaurant 99 down through and including Holy Redeemer School there on the Conception Bay Highway, Route 70. So there'll be lots of work happening. So just if everybody can keep that in mind, of course, safety, everybody wants to return home safe. And, of course, that's also part of my portfolio as well, workplace and also lots to talk about. I know we're out of time, but I just wanted to send a big welcome out to everybody to come visit our district this year. Of course, make the trip, the excursion around the bay this summer. And, again, the Conception Bay Museum, hats off to those volunteers. They do so much. They keep it going. They are the heart of our community.
Absolutely.
So come on out and enjoy yourself out here this summer.
Thank you, Pam. That's a great message to leave it on. Have a great day.
Take good care.
Thank you. And on that note, drive safely, drive alive. VOCM cares.